Todo bien ya. So I hope that we you know what it is that
Good evening and welcome to the Lawrence City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 18th. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2022, this meeting will be hybrid, allowing participation both in person in the City Council chambers and remotely. You can reach us through Zoom, as well as our Facebook Lawrence City Council page and our YouTube Lawrence City Council page. At this point, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilor Levy. Present. Councilor Russell.
Present.
Councilor Rodriguez. Noted as absent. Councilor Rosario.
Present.
Councilor Reyes.
present.
Councilor noted as absent.
Present.
Present. Will you please rise for a moment of silence? We'll start off with public participation. Mr. Molly, you know the rules. You're the only one on the sheet. You have 2.5 minutes. At the 2-minute mark, Mr. Molly, Teresa will ring the bell. Please conclude your thoughts, your comments. Of course, just address the chair and not any individual city councilors. You go ahead.
Humayun Mali, 53 Chester Street. Good evening, honorable members. We demand the best contract for Lawrence Police now. Lawrence Police, this union of pride and honor, deserve the best contract and compensation for Lawrence Police. Million thanks to our DPW workers. Our city is a beautiful city because of our hard-working DPW workers. We support your great union. Inspection Department, thank you for excellent job. We support your union. We need to hire more inspectors. We demand from this honorable council to declare the first day of school every year the day of the appreciation of the Lawrence Public School and teachers and employees. Lawrence Public School, with a budget of $260 million, must pay the best compensation to our Lawrence Public School employees and teachers. Lawrence, one city under God, we are proud to support our union, from firefighters to police officers, DPW, and our teachers. We are united to stand up in support of Lawrence Police Officers Union, Seniors Officers Union. Lawrence, one of the best police department in the nation. We demand the best contract for our Police Officers Union, Seniors Officers Union. We are thank you for your great job. Thank you.
Thank you much, and that ends public participation. Mr. Miley, your name and comments and address will be submitted as part of the record. Thank you, Clerk. Before the meeting started, I went through the audience to figure out who was here, so I'm going to go in that particular order. Public hearings are going to be the first one. And before I start this public hearing, as we typically do when I find it somebody of some distinction's birthday, I usually say a word or two. The irony should be very rich this evening because the individual whose birthday it is today is Francis M. Leahy, of which we're going to be having a public hearing this evening. The history behind Francis Leahy was he was in World War I. He also served in the border conflict in Mexico. Also was part of what was going on in the Bread and Roses strike as part of the National Guard. And then he was actually killed in France during World War I. And and what was famous about his passing was that he said one thing, and it hit all the newspapers around the country and also around the world. He said, Lieutenant, after he got hit with shrapnel, he said, Lieutenant Hansen, he goes, the command is forward, see the boys through. And that's was supposed to be his last words before he passed. So with that, I'll go to public hearings, and before I do that, I'll ask for the clerk to please call the roll for Councilor Infante.
Councilor Infante.
Present.
I will ask the clerk to now read the public hearing notice for document number 22623, the Leahy School, an additional loan order of $12 million. Clerk, please read the order.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, July 18th, 2023 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting of the Lawrence City Council in the City Council Chambers, 200 Common Street, Lawrence, Mass. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2022, this meeting will be hybrid, allowing public participation both in person and in the City Council chambers and remotely via Zoom. To receive access codes for remote participation, please contact the city clerk at 978-620-3230 prior to the meeting. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the loan order amendment for the Leahy Elementary School. Ordered, that order number 24-2022 of the City Council passed on February 15th, 2022, authorizing the funding of the Leahy Elementary School project, is hereby amended to increase the amount of the appropriation and borrowing authorization by $12 million to cover the increased cost of the project by replacing the language in the original order number 24-2022 with the following. Ordered, that the city hereby appropriates $114,223,416 to pay costs of the construction of a new Leahy Elementary School located at 100 Irving Avenue in Lawrence, Massachusetts, including the payment of all costs related to designing the project, demolishing the existing building, equipping and furnishing the school, site improvements, and other costs incidental and related thereto, the, quote, project, end quote, which school facility shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children of at least 50 years, and for which the city may be eligible for a grant from the Massachusetts School, slow down, sorry. You got it. From the Massachusetts School Building Authority, the MSBA. Said amount to be expended under the direction of the School Building Committee. That to meet the appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow said amount pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 70B, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the city thereof, that the city acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any project costs the city incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the city. That any grant that the city may receive from the MSBA for the project shall not exceed the lesser of 80% of eligible approved project costs as determined by the MSBA, or the total maximum grant amount determined by the MSBA, and that the amount of the borrowing authorized by this order shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in and received pursuant to the project funding agreement executed between the city and the MSBA. Further ordered, that the treasurer is authorized to file an application with the appropriate officials of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the quote, Commonwealth, end quote, to qualify under Chapter 44A of the general laws, any and all bonds of the city authorized to be borrowed pursuant to this loan order, and to provide such information and execute such documents as such officials of the Commonwealth may require in connection therewith. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
Public hearing is now open. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Name and address, please, for the record.
Humayun Mali, 53 Chester Street. Good evening, your honorable members. You know, that through of the service of these honorable members, they are shown a strong interest about education of our children. This project about the Leahy School is a hope and biggest investment, you know, for future of the children. As honorable members knows, the population of our city has grown, especially through the last years, a few years a lot, and our new children that in the new school. Leahy School shows to other city and community how important is for Laurentian the education of our children. So we respectfully request in this election year, honorable members vote yes for this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members, any other members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. I'm looking for a motion, and it needs to be a very precise motion if it is a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and by the Vice President, seconded by Councilor Selena Reyes. Clerk, would you please provide guidance on what the motion should read?
The motion should be a vote to acknowledge the certification of the CAFO and accept the loan amendment as published.
Is that your motion, Vice President? And
Yes,
and has been properly seconded. At this point, there's discussion. Councilor Del Rosario, then Councilor Russell.
Thank you, through you, Council President. Are we just voting to order a public hearing?
This is the vote. This is the vote to approve the loan authorization.
What I read in the agenda and the last meeting that we have, we should have been voting today to order a public hearing.
I apologize, Counselor, that's a typo. It's in the public hearing section, meaning it is the public hearing is tonight. The public hearing language was cut and paste from the last meeting. You folks ordered on July 7th, you voted to order public hearing at our last meeting.
Councilor Russell?
Thank you, Council President. The one question I have is this loan order going to be a continuing process because of some people's inability to accurately estimate what construction costs and material are going to be over the course of the next 2 years? Can anybody give me an answer on that?
Is there anybody from the administration or the school department who wishes to provide a response to the counselor?
Good evening, Suresh Bhatia, Atlantic Construction Management Inc. To the President, the The bids, there were two kinds of process of bidding. One is the construction management at risk, which you have experience with the Oliver School, where the cost is not, there's amount there, and if there's any unforeseen that gets added on. This, what we have at the Leahy School is a design bid build. So the cost given to us by the contractor is a lump sum cost. There shall be no increase in the actual construction, contract, other than any unforeseen condition that we might experience while building it, which is not within the design. If there's something, maybe a design error or something we find in the ground which is unforeseen, for which we do have contingencies separately, and those will only be used when they will be needed by the approval by the Lawrence Elementary School Building Committee.
It's my understanding on the Oliver School project, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, that was, as you mentioned, a lump sum project with the contractor and the architects willing to pick up any overage on the actual cost of the construction process. Why wasn't a lump sum process, why wasn't a lump sum price established on the Leahy School?
The Leahy School is a lump sum price. The price you got from the contractor is a lump sum price for the work, for the complete construction contract.
I see $12 million. I don't see that as being inclusive in what I would consider a lump sum. But again, I'm old school. Okay, thank you, sir.
Ms. Hernandez, welcome.
Good evening, Alanis Hernandez, Chief Operating Officer for Lawrence Public Schools. The Oliver, Councilor Russell was under the process of a construction management at risk, so a CM at risk, and the Leahy project is a design bid build. Both projects went, the big lump sum, as you're describing, or the chunk of the construction cost went to the CM at risk consigli. So they assumed any construction differences after the original, after the sub-bids went in. With the Leahy project, we go out to bid twice. One was for the demolition, the other one is for this portion of the project, which is the construction and the design. And the prices have been different because when we originally applied to the MSBA and originally did all the work, it was around 2017, 2018, the year 2017 and the year 2018. It was not assumed then the global pandemic that we experienced, so the architects and the design team was unable to predict. And now we are before you just like we were a few, or maybe 6 months ago with the Oliver, we were before you because when they did the bids for the construction, the materials just escalated. So we received 2 bids under this project. Both bids were very close in nature in terms of how much it would cost the contractor to finish the building. We went with the lowest bidder, and that's why the additional fund appropriation of the $12 million to add to this project. You're welcome.
See no other questions. The chair does have a question. So back to the over $12 million that we're voting for this evening. Help me understand just a little bit better why we are, I know there's cost overruns. Didn't the contractor assume the risk when this was the vote that was taken, and what we were assured that there was enough of a buffer here that we would not need to come before for a secondary vote? Can someone address why that was a risk, and now we are paying for the risk that we thought that the contractor had?
Yes, sir. I'm Frank Tedesco. I'm the architect for the project. The original estimate was done at schematic design. That's how MSBA does it. There were a lot of contingencies and escalation put into the cost estimate at that time. We did 2 additional cost estimates with 2 separate independent cost estimators. This is before we even have a contractor. This is during design. So we did do final estimates, and they looked pretty close to where we were. We did cut out some. At one point, it looked like some of the things were going over, so So we took some things and did value engineering and brought it in. And so when the contractor finally bid this job, it's just only a couple of months ago, that's when the bids came in over that estimate, which was unanticipated. But it's very, unfortunately, the escalation that has happened in Massachusetts and all over the country in construction is almost unpredictable. For example, we only had 2 general contractors bid this project, and in the past, we've usually had 4 or 5, but they're just not bidding anymore. There's a lot of work out there. So what we have now is a lump sum from an actual contractor that has gone through the documents and has bid it. There's going to be they are responsible for any further escalation or inflation that happens. Unlike the Oliver, if you get more escalation, you'll pay for it because it's CM at risk and they can go back and get money. This contractor cannot do that. So this is the price, and it's a well-designed building. We don't expect anything, any crazy surprises or anything like that. So we expect this is it. But if around the state, the same thing is happening with other projects, even after the final estimates. I've been doing this for over 35 years. I've never seen anything like it. Most of our projects come in at the last estimate. This is very unusual, but 4 or 5 other projects that bid out at the same time are having the same issue. One of them is 30 million over. I think, what was it, Concord? Yeah, Concord, it was 30 million over their final estimate too. So this has been a phenomenon. We're not getting a lot of bidders like we used to. So unfortunately, but there won't be any, they can't change the price. This is a lump sum. This is it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Counselor Infante. Do we want to bring Counselor Rodriguez into the meeting first? Okay.
No, I have something to say about this. I already did the present. I already did it. Infante.
What's your vote, Counselor?
Are we voting, or
Yes,
can
we're
I
voting.
raise? Well,
Voting.
I have a comment to make, and I thought when you said do the roll, I thought she was gonna call for Counselor Rodriguez, who just walked in.
Do you have a comment you want to make,
I
Counselor?
do.
Before we start?
I do.
I'm gonna rescind that motion, or rescind the roll call, and Counselor Infante, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Council President. One comment that I would like to say in terms of our investments in our community. For whatever reason, we have minimal discussions when it comes to investing in positions and salaries that we may or may not know whether or not the city will utilize in the future. And throughout the years, we have seen that some positions go away, some, we make up new ones, et cetera. One thing we know for sure that will be here long-term is our schools. One thing I know as a counselor, as a former school committee member, that I know for sure that people are often asking, why is it that Lawrence, our kids need X, Y, and Z in the schools? Why do our schools look like this? And every time we're making an investment towards our education is always an issue. Long-term investments, you will see the fruits of the labor. And that's all I'm gonna say.
Could you please call the roll for Counselor Rodriguez?
Counselor Rodriguez.
Present.
Further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Infante.
Yes.
Counselor Selena.
Yes.
Counselor Del Rosario.
Yes.
Counselor Giovanni Rodriguez.
Yes.
Counselor Russell.
Yes.
Counselor Dela Cruz, noted as absent. Counselor Levy.
Yes.
Council Vice President.
Yes.
Council President.
Yes, the motion carries. The next document, like I said, we went through the council into the audience, is under Ordinance Committee, document number 2023, a determination regarding the vote by mail and in-person early voting. I'm looking for the chair of the Ordinance Committee.
2023, you said?
Correct.
Document 23, determination regarding voting by mail and in-person early voting for primary and general election. It has been sent out as a committee report And I'm looking to make a motion,
Committee
accept
report,
as a committee report.
committee report's been made, and there's a second by Counselor Levy. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Looking for a motion.
Yes, the reason that we send it up for, as a committee report was because I want to give the opportunity to all of you, how do you wish to approach to this item? We have, Mr. Reyes, to explain a little bit more what this is about and what was the vote that we took the last.
Good evening, councilors. I'm Richard Reyes, Assistant City Clerk for the Election Division. Regarding document 2023, it's regarding early voting. Usually in the past, we've done 1 week early voting in September. I believe back in February, some of the councilors wanted to change the hours and the dates. One of the requirements that it's required by the state is that on Saturdays, we have to start on early voting, which that makes it September 9th, and that's the last day to register to vote. So I know in the last minutes that they took, they were trying to say that we shouldn't be working on Saturdays for early voting, which that's a requirement by the state. The city does have an option, the city councils have an option to opt out of early voting also, and also vote by mail.
Question?
Any other questions?
Council President,
Counselor Rodriguez.
so can we, since we're bringing this topic back again to, for discussion, can we say what was approved before in terms of early voting? I believe that, if I recall correctly, so early voting was automatically, no vote was taken. And then we took a vote to vote by mail is automatic, and early voting we have 2 weeks. Yeah, that's what we voted for. So that what we hear from the department is that if we can reconsider these dates, early voting, so it's already adopted, right? I mean, vote by mail, it's already adopted because we took no vote during the time that we were supposed to take a vote to opt out.
You're right. You have to opt out of vote by mail, which we have not done. You could still vote to opt out of vote by mail, but we have not done that. So we have no vote on that, so that means we are accepting vote by mail unless you choose to take a vote on that.
And the other consideration should be to reduce the amount of days that we're gonna be doing the early voting.
That's right. We had talked about doing September 5th through 15th and not on the Saturday. So the way the state regulation is, if you do early voting, you have to do the Saturday. We can't skip the Saturday as a regulation. So the proposal coming back was to do the 9th to the 15th and do the Saturday in between. So that was the request, was to switch the date from the 9th to the 15th and include the Saturday.
So instead of 2 weeks, it's gonna be 1 week
In September.
in September, and then 2 weeks in November.
It's up to
It's up to the
you
council,
guys right
yeah.
now to decide whether you guys want 2 weeks or 1 week.
Yeah, but
for
we already
November.
voted for 2 weeks on November.
November? Okay. So from November, it will be from October 21st through November 3rd. Because we have to start on a Saturday. Saturday is the last day to register to vote at 5 o'clock. So it will make more sense of having early voting on that Saturday. So voters could come in case they want to register, they have to 5 o'clock, and they also could vote early voting.
This is up for discussion, right?
We're discussing right now. There's a motion on the floor right now to approve, and I believe I just want to make sure I'm clear, I want to be clear on the motion. The motion before us right now is a motion to do what? For the preliminary election date for 1 week? Is that the motion before us right now? What's the motion?
So, Council President, there is no
2 weeks.
motion, we accept the committee report. Now we need to make a motion to be able to make any recommendation. So there is no motion in front of us.
Okay, is there a motion, so we continue the discussion, is there a motion before us?
Motions to approve as the 2 weeks, is that what we want to go The reason that I send it up as a committee report is for you just to take a voice and say how you feel more comfortable. This is the time. We want 2 weeks, or we want only 1 week? For September, 2 week, a week in September and 2 week for November. On the early voter.
So is your motion to go with the requested date change of 9/9 to 9/15? Is that, were you wanting something different?
No, I want.
I'll make the motion.
Yeah.
I make a motion to, instead of going for 2 weeks for the early voting, to reduce it to 1 week on the primary election. That goes from 9/5 to 9/15, which include the Saturday that is required
Yeah.
by the state. That's the motion.
So there's a motion right now. Is everybody understand the motion? 1 week? Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Infante. Now a discussion. Are we,
9/9 to 9/15 is one.
9/9.
9/9 to
Which is the
9/15,
same
yes.
motion. It's the same motion that I was making. 9 to 9:15,
That is
right? And that's the first motion. For the primary. Yeah? Yeah, including Saturday.
That's
September
Saturday and Sunday.
9th to September 15th, including a Saturday. We all
Including a
clear?
Saturday.
And that's the motion. Has been properly seconded. Any further discussion on this motion? 1 week preliminary election. Any further discussion? Counselor Russell.
Thank you. Before we get into voting on the question of early voting, has it been accepted that vote by mail is the law of the city for this coming election?
Does the clerk's, I could answer that, but does the clerk wishes to respond? We could opt out.
That is
You have to
correct.
have an affirmative vote to opt out of it. Right now, it's by law, it is part of it. It's established. So you need to opt out. No
According to-
vote means that we're automatically having it.
Correct. According to the Voters Act that took place on June 22nd, 2022, they're giving local elections the option to opt out of mail by vote. So yes, you guys could opt out. Or actually,
But Lawrence haven't voted to opt out, so we in.
Right now, so the motion before us is to go ahead, let's just deal with one thing at a time, just kind of keep it simple. 1 week preliminary, including a Saturday, which is required by law if we have a week. We will, if there's a motion to opt out, I'll look for that in a second, but I just want to deal with this first. Any further discussion on the preliminary, 1 week? See none? I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No. Roll call vote.
Counselor Levy?
Yes.
Counselor Dela Cruz is noted as absent. Counselor Russell?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Del Rosario?
Yes.
Counselor Selena Reyes?
Yes.
Counselor Infante?
Yes.
Counselor Vice President?
Yes.
Council President LaPlante?
Yes, motion carries. Now, I'm going to
President,
either
the-
looking
the-
for a
my-
motion on this, on the general election or for vote by the opt-out. Counselor Rodriguez, you seek the floor.
I'll make up now, I stand my opinions. I would like to keep the 2 weeks for the final. That's fine.
It's a motion on the floor to,
No, it's no need for a motion because we already voted. That's my opinion, that we stay with the 2 weeks because we already have a vote on
I'm
that.
looking for a motion then, if you're not going to offer one. Is there a motion?
Motion to go for the 2 weeks and
It's our, as the counselor already said, we've already voted for that. It's already 2 weeks at this point. Is there a motion to either take it to 1 week or to take it to no early voting? I'm looking for that motion. If there's no motion, we'll move on. Very good. It is-
not on the general election,
So as the clerk just advised, we could re-ratify or ratify our earlier vote, but this time to include the Saturday vote
Saturday,
on there.
yes.
So that would be in order. Is someone willing to make that motion?
Make a mo,
Yeah, motion to, 2 weeks on the, well, we already have that, including Saturday.
from the 24th to the 3rd?
October
Or
21st
to the
to November
23rd to the 11th?
October 21st
1st.
to
November 3rd. That's 2 weeks for the
November 3rd.
November elections.
Okay, that's the motion.
Motion's been made,
That's 2 Saturdays.
motion's been made to include 2 Saturdays. Who seconded that motion? Seconded by Councilor Selena Reyes. Discussion. Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Infante?
Yes.
Counselor Selena Reyes?
Yes.
Counselor Del Rosario?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Russell?
Yes.
Counselor Dela Cruz is noted as absent. Counselor Levy?
Yes.
Counsel Vice President?
Yes.
Counsel President?
No. Motion carries. Are there any other motions? Councilor Russell.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to make a motion to bring up the question of voting by mail in the primary.
Is this a motion to opt out? Because I'm looking for a motion.
I am looking for a motion to opt out of early voting by mail.
It's a motion to opt out of the preliminary and the general election. Is there a second? Seeing no second, the motion dies. I think, is that it? No other motion? I think we're clear on all that. So we've already, have we dispensed with this, clerk, with this item at this point? Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Thank you very much. There's no other motions. Yes, if there's no objections, I'll ask the chair to to give the committee report for 25723.
Document 25723, approved 24 polling location for 2023 municipal election, both September and November. It has been sent out with favorable recommendation, and I'm looking to a motion to approve.
Motion is made to approve, seconded by Councilor Selena Reyes. Discussion. Councilor Levy.
Just to remind that the precinct that it was added for the past election is not going in right now, this time, no? So that was District A that we have A5 or AB?
The sub-precincts are no longer needed. only for the
Exactly,
federal.
that is what I want to make sure, that this is no longer
Yeah.
for this coming election.
So for the
Those
lo-
two, there were 4 new presents.
Two,
Yeah.
so
There was 2 sub-precincts. Sub-precincts are only used for the state elections. For local elections, the sub-precincts do
So
not
it's
exist.
just only for a state election, not for the city election?
That is correct. We only have 24 precincts.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're going to move on, if there's no objection, to the last city elections, which is document number 25323.
258. 258. Approved police detail for municipal election, both September and November. It also has been sent out with a favorable recommendation, and I'm looking for a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Councilor Levy. Discussion?
Discussion.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Do we have this every year, or every election? Or this is the first time we actually look?
No,
have it
the
detailed
state
to be
decided,
approved
like,
by
in
the council?
2021, the state decided that we needed approval from the city council to get approved for police detail at the polling locations. So this is going to be brought up. So whatever you guys vote on today is going to be covered for September and November, police detail.
A requirement that come up after some type of research?
Yes.
All right, because we always have details, but this is, according to you, the second time that we see it here.
Yeah, we started this about like 2 years ago, I believe, or last year, I'm sorry.
No problem, thank you.
You're welcome.
If there's no further discussion, I'll call it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. I'm going back to document 25623, Old Gold License. Madam Chair.
Document 25623, Old Gold Secondhand Dealer License, Eddie Manor Henry Jewelry. It has been sent out with favor recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
Motion made and seconded by Counselor Selena Reyes. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Thank you. At this point, we're going to move to document 26523, reauthorization of a,
The Assistant Director of Recreation position for Recreation Department also has been sent out with the favor recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
motion
Second.
made and seconded by Counselor Anna Levy. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
264 is not the same. To the
You can do it, Counselor.
Director of
Sure.
I think,
Let's do
Yeah.
264. I don't see, but 264.
264 is reauthorization of Director of Economic Development, vacant over 6 months. It also has been sent out with favor recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Counselor Levy. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. All right, we're now at what? Is somebody here for that? Okay, I'm sorry. You weren't here when I walked by. Document 24523, would you please read the committee report?
245. 245-23 Greenway 5K Manchester Street Park, August 6, 2023, from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Groundwork Lawrence. It has been sent out with favor recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Counselor Del Rosario. Thank you. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. If there's no objection, we're going to go to old business, document number 411C22. For some sort of motion on this. I'm looking
Council
for a motion.
President.
Motion to approve?
Council President.
Counselor Infante, so I'm going to go to Counselor Infante. Go ahead, Counselor.
Thank you. I would like to recuse myself for this vote.
So the guidance, the clerk, why don't you take the mic and just give the guidance on that?
Thank you, Counselor. I acknowledge a couple of counselors need to recuse themselves, and I had spoken with the city attorney because to do a motion to reconsider the item, we need 6 votes, because we're suspending the rules to do that. So he did advise us that it is okay for people that are recusing themselves on the underlying vote to be part of the motion to reconsider and then recuse themselves, so that we don't run the risk of not having 6 votes to actually be able to reconsider the motion. And then on the reconsideration, people who need to recuse themselves should at that time leave, so.
So based on that, it would be in order now to look for a motion, if there is, for a motion to reconsider, and I believe everybody was on the prevailing side. So anybody can make this motion. Motion made by Counselor Rodriguez, seconded by the Vice President. Discussion on the motion to reconsider. And this is, of course, we're suspending the rule to allow for this motion. So this is a suspension of the rules to allow it to take place this evening. Is there any discussion on this matter? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Counselor Levy?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Del Rosario?
Yes.
Counselor Selena Reyes?
Yes.
Counselor Infante?
Yes.
Council Vice President Estela Reyes?
Yes.
Council President LaPlante?
Yes, the motion to reconsider passes. Now, councilors, we are a blank slate. It's as if we haven't had a chance to vote on this. I will now look to see if anybody wishes to recuse themselves at this point. I see Counselor Russell wishes to recuse himself, and Counselor Infante wishes to recuse herself. Okay, thank you. to both of you. At this point, this is
Motion to approve with discussion.
there's a motion to approve document. First. Who wants to speak?
Yes, Council President.
Councilor Rodriguez, you have the floor.
Good evening, Council President.
Councilor Rodriguez, did you wish to
Yes,
start, or do you
sure.
wish to have Mr. Spanner speak?
No, I mean, we can start. Advisor Spanners, I have a couple of questions, and that's why, that was one of the reasons that I actually put this up on the agenda. That those questions came because of once we actually went through the vote, the list of recipients went public, and some of the recipients, we were waiting for that ethical commission release forms from them. So, do we receive those?
Sorry, good evening. First, I would like to ask staff to approach the community development. The answer is yes, we did. We submitted 2 questions with those 2 organizations that we presented today.
Mr. Spanner, I'm going to interrupt you only because I am identifying another city councilor who is recusing himself at this point. Councilor Del Rosario is now recused from this vote. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Right.
Continue, please.
Yes, there were two organizations in which 2 city employees were part of those organizations. It was brought to my attention by staff, by OPD staff, Office of Planning and Development, that is working and was part of evaluating. We reviewed the concerns, and we we informed the city manager, and we also informed the city attorney.
Can you go back again on what you say, the city who?
City staff of the Office of Planning and Community Development, Planning and Development, they called our attention that there might be conflict of interest issues, or at least suspicion of conflict of interest concerning 2 city employees. Actually, there were 4 names that was mentioned of 4 applicants or 4 applications. We reviewed those. From the 4, there were 2 that we there were 2. Okay. Then we had two individuals that are working with the city that were involved with that submitted an application on behalf of the organization, their organizations. We informed the mayor of such of the probable conflict of interest issue. He directed us to speak to the city attorney. We did brought to the attention of the city attorney of 2 cases of 2 organizations. And the city attorney indicated to us that that the best way to deal with the issue was to ask those 2 individuals to contact the Ethics Commission to request to ask to impose the questions of conflict of interest and return with an answer. We did receive a response, or the city attorney received a response, and then he informed us that there was no conflict of interest, that it was resolved. However, when we went back to review both organizations, we found that there were issues. One, there was misinformation. There was another city employee who is the spouse of a city councilor that was named, and her name was registered with one of the organizations. And I contacted her, and she indicated to me that she didn't have any clue of her name being used. Then that became an issue, because then when we further reviewed the document, we saw that there were inconsistencies, and the mayor decided that to issue a letter and reject that application. The second applicant that submitted received a letter as well from a response of the city, from the Ethics Commission. Sorry, I'm just looking for these. And their application was also rejected. Those are the case.
Before we go to that part of that information that you received from the mayor, I wanted to go back from the beginning, and I would like you to explain to us how is the process of choosing those applicants, the interview process of those applicants, and then the recommendation from the mayor to those applicants to come to City Council?
Well, the process is as follows. They submitted we opened the bidding process. Let's call it the bidding process or the application process. And the organizations applied. There was a deadline. I forgot the specific dates. I don't know if you guys have the dates.
Good, that's good. Just the
Okay, there was a
process in
specific
general.
date, and then the dates were extended. The organization, as you already know, that was advertised with a series of conditions and requirements. There was no interviewing process. There were some organizations that we met with voluntarily based on, this started already since the administration came on board. I think when the Kennedy School of Government, the graduates were here, they had a series of questionnaires and questions and surveys, and we identified basically the needs within the community. Some organizations I personally met with, as well as staff, and those are business organizations, because we wanted to know, and I can mention some of them, which was, we have one CDFI in the city. That's a community development financial institution that also works with small businesses, and they provide loan. That's MCCI, Mill City Community Investment. We met with Lawrence Partnership. We met with the Federación Hispana. We met with the religious group that came before you. We met with, a couple of other organizations that are providing citizenship in the city. So the door was open to any person that wanted, that had questions, to come before the bidding process started.
So the bidding process, I could call it, is a request for proposal, right?
Right.
So that's what it is,
That's the
right?
process, yes.
Okay. So when you put the RFP up there, so you specify for specific needs that the city have, and then there is organizations that show up and apply and proceed.
Correct.
Within the deadline. When we do the CDBGs, we have a board that, we have a training to allow people to come over and get information and help them out a little bit of how the application process work, usually the library, and then we have applications coming in, and then we have a board. They usually meet, discuss the applications, see if the applications are qualified to the needs of the request for proposal, and then that board, that Councilor Reyes was part of it a couple of years ago, right? Yeah. Send a recommendation to the mayor and the mayor recommended a specific amount of funds based on the pre-check on the qualifications of those organizations. But all of them go through the same process. Don't you think that just interviewing a few organizations put us on a jeopardized position when it comes to a possible lawsuit because some of them were treated differently than others?
No, as a matter of fact, no, absolutely not. We had a review committee. I recall the council chair during the discussions had his concern, in which we said, at that time, I said to you that we have staff that is capable to do the reviewing. We had approximately a team of 7, if I'm not mistaken. We had Ms. Susan Fink, we had Ms. Kate King, we had Elialis Reyes, we had Genevieve Martinez, right? Do I mention it correctly?
That's the review, but the interview process, that's what I'm talking about.
No, interview process, no, because it was basically, what we did was simplify that CDBG process, which is tedious and very, very strict. So all applicants that applied, all were considered. Those that were rejected was private organizations that were, let's say, private corporations that were that were not nonprofit, and organizations that basically were not incorporated. But all applicants that applied were considered. So no organization was left behind. As a matter of fact, that's the reason why the application was extended. Because initially, I think we received 38 applications, and then at the end, we received 51, correct? Yes, 51 applications. And from those 51, I think, Ms. Elias, you can say.
40-something were approved. 48, I think, right?
Yeah, with the contingency, hello, good evening. With the contingency of number project or application 45 and 46, which were contingent on the Ethics Committee.
Identify your name.
Elialis Reyes, grant writer for Community Development. Good evening, councilors.
No, thank you for the information. I mean, the list was very clear. But what I wanted to know is like the process as of how we get to that point, because if we check those applications, one of that organization was incorporated 2 weeks after we get the approval from the council. That means that it was incorporated a few weeks before, at least 4 weeks after the application process was reviewed. So how come we provide a yes and okay through different step process to an organization that was not incorporated?
We saw the IRS information.
Yeah. There were two, first of all, the fact that these organizations came, that we came as staff with a recommendation from the mayor for approval, did not mean that they were basically approved. They had to show their documentation, and also in order for them to first sign a contract and provide additional information if it was needed. Yes, if an organization was not incorporated at the time they submitted the application, they were rejected.
But that one of the organizations that you mentioned was not incorporated at that time, and he got rejected.
And there were others as well that were not incorporated.
But that organization was rejected not because it was not incorporated. It was rejected after the fact. We approved pending the information from ethics.
Yes.
So by not checking that box, how can we recommend that organization to the mayor, and the mayor send this document over to us without having a certificate of good standing as an organization? That's the least that we should expect of an organization if we're using public funds.
Well, we are still checking. We are still checking all the organization. The fact, that's the fact finding that we do until the contract is signed. So we're still checking organizations. And then some of them, and I give you an example, Counselor, that we have identified that didn't renew they didn't do annual filing. But the fact that they didn't do annual filing for 2 years or 1 year, that doesn't mean that they cannot continue their work as a nonprofit.
But based on the state law and regulation and the Secretary of the State, if you don't file for a year, you're not in good standing. And you need to have your organization at least have a certificate of good standing every time that you apply for a grant or a loan or anything related to public funds or to private funds.
Yeah, well, sometimes they require it and some they don't. It depends on the program. This is a municipal, this is not state.
That's public fund. This is public funds.
It's public funds, but the fact that an organization didn't file within 1 year, unless their corporate status is revoked. So they still have the opportunity to file. And that's why the state sends them a letter. So to reject an organization because they didn't file 1 year and 2 years, they still show up as a operating organization, they're still entitled, it's still operating, they're entitled to work within the city, the state. Plus, the other filing is with the IRS. They could be in good standing with the IRS and still be a nonprofit organization.
Well, I'll tell you this much. Every time that because this is why we lost so much funds during COVID, we as a citizen, the citizen of the city of Lawrence, and people that have organizations lost so much funds during COVID and before COVID and every grant is because we always miss a documentation, and that's a certificate of good standing. And because for some reason we haven't get there, but I think that we should, when we're dealing with public funds, we should follow the state regulations when it comes to that, because that's actually protecting the city against other organizations and protecting people's taxes. The reason that I'm asking this type of questions, at the beginning I didn't, and the reason that I brought this up in front of you as an old business is because I feel embarrassed when I actually get caught on something that simple, that an organization wasn't registered during that time, and you guys present that information to us, and we trust at least those checkboxes were met, every single one of them. I didn't ask questions whatsoever about that stuff at the beginning. And it is embarrassing because when it comes to the CDBG's funds and all the applications that come in front of us, we know for sure, for fact, that those boxes are checked. And those boxes, we can see on the list that it was rejected because of a specific box that wasn't checked on organizations. And that information is provided to us. And when we were dealing with the $16 million from the ARPA fund or from the free cash to be able to do these type of programs, one of the things that you actually said to us, the process is going to be similar to the CDBGs. Lighting up the process, there's nothing wrong with that, but not checking those specific things is like, why?
Councilor, can I answer? Look, there's an organization that has been working with the city. I'm just giving, I'm not going to mention name, otherwise we have to mention all of them. There's an organization that recently organized a huge event in the city that works with small businesses, for instance. We went through our documents, and the documents indicated they didn't file for 2 years, but they are operating. Personally, and my recommendation to the mayor is not to reject them. They have, if they can submit the day that they signed a contract with the city, a certificate of good standing, that's it. You get it in 48 hours. That's not a legitimate reason to reject an organization. Now, if they are an organization that didn't file for years and the state discontinue their operation, or what's the name of the word? They revoked their privileges to work in the state, then yes. But that organization can file it in 48 hours, they'll get their good standing. Any company and corporation that files and fills those documents. We have submitted to the mayor for his approval, and we sent it to you as well, the contract, so we're still in the process. We have checked and continue to double check all the organizations that submitted an application. Those that did it after the fact were rejected. Those that are still, that have the opportunity to renew their annual filing will be given the opportunity to do so. So they will not be rejected because they're working within the community.
So, because what we're saying is kind of like going around, but I mean, what happened in reality is the opposite of what you're telling me. There was an organization that was approved, that was recommended, that was not interviewed, that was recommended by the mayor, that came in front of the city council, and the whole application was pending only one specific thing, which is the ethic certificate, the ethic release, but not the incorporation of the organization. So that at that point, throughout those steps, that organization was not incorporated.
Yes, it was. It was submitted, and they received a 501c3. That made it even worse. They received that. They were a nonprofit organization. Do you want me to tell you the exact hour when they actually submit that, and you get it within minutes? Your status as a 501c3, the state status as a 501c3, because it's not the feds. They receive a non-for-profit corporation status, not a 501c3. 501c3 is a fed. Yes.
That takes 6 months for you to get it. They didn't get that. They get the non-profit corporation that with $35, you file with the Board of Trustees, and you get within minutes, you get a certificate.
You mean
and
with
that
the
was
state?
2 weeks after, state.
Yeah.
That was 2 weeks after we approved the application. And a week after, they submit to the clerk to the city attorney, the ethic release. So that's what I'm saying. We need to keep this consistent when it comes to interviewing, when it comes to process, because otherwise we're going to keep on making this type of little mistakes that might not be intentional. But during the interview process, we can verify if that organization is actually doing business as they're saying on the application that they're doing.
But that's precisely what we did, and that's precisely why we held it, because we continued to look for it. Because we saw on the date that they submitted to the IRS a day that was not correct. So then the mayor said there's too many inconsistencies.
Inconsistencies were public before the administration make a determination. The inconsistencies were completely public on the community. When the administration said, we're not giving out the money, but the city council approved that pending that release, and the city attorney get the release, so meaning that the person or the organization was going to get the funds if it didn't get in public, if it didn't get to the public. So that's what I'm saying is the process is not consistent. We need to interview everybody, and we need to check a specific box of the application before we actually say, at least before I receive it to my office. I don't care about if you guys wanted to send it over, But at least before, because otherwise they're gonna have to question every application. And I don't wanna go through that. I wanna have that trust built that you guys have done for 2 years.
Yes, and we are continuing to do it, because it's the same that goes with the promise of fronting. They have to expend their funds first. Until they sign the contract, we don't know that. So basically what we did, we came before you.
Can you repeat that again?
Yes, for instance, all applicants, in order they would receive the money based on a reimbursement process. So they have to expend the money, come back. If they spend $1,000, that's what they have, they can come and they will get another $1,000. If they have 50 and they were approved, let's say for 200, they have to expend those funds and then they will get reimbursed. But exactly. And by the time you have that, and they have to show and expend the money.
By the time they have these, what I'm saying, you need to have a clear process to follow with every organization. A specific box, check box, certificate of good standing, if you guys decide to have that. Whatever you guys decide on the RFP, to ensure that in the interview process, and make sure that that organization is doing that type of business with a track record, that we can actually say, yes. Because at the end of the day, to be honest with you, the least concern I have was one of the biggest concerns you guys have. And you know what was my least concern? That if an employee from the city is actually doing a work for a not-for-profit organization that is applying for money for the city. That's my least concern. You know what was my biggest concern? That we didn't check all the boxes out here. Because it could be that a city employee have a track record of 30 years doing, doing any specific activities in the community. For 30 years doing it. And then they become a city employee, and then this type of source become available. This type of funds. I mean, it's not going to take away the opportunity for those to apply. I mean, that's not an issue, but the track record wasn't there. The organization was recently created. The idea probably was there, but it wasn't, the track record wasn't. So it's like, you mentioned 2 organizations and both of them were rejected. One of them have the main issues because it didn't check all the stuff. The other one have a track record that have done work for years, and now it's a city employee and now it's rejected. But that's not a concern. It's not about being a city employee, no. That's what doesn't take the opportunities away. Because you can be part of a board, and then the organization can apply.
Councilor, we hear what you said. We are still checking. This is not the end of it. We continue. As soon as we heard, and as soon as staff found out of the discrepancies, it was brought to our attention, and we mitigated the situation. But we do understand and your concern, and we are going to, still not late for us to ask for if the council so wishes, but we can ask for a certificate of good standing with all the organizations.
And can you please perform an interview to each of those organizations, just like we do on the CDBGs?
Yes,
They have a three minute whatever presentation of what they do and everything.
So CDBG does that 2-minute presentation. CDBG, Kate King, Senior Finance Officer for Community Development. They do a 3-minute, 2-minute, 3-minute presentation. We didn't do that with these because they were 51. And I think the intention was to get this down and get as many people served as possible. But I want to assure you, nobody's getting a contract or anything. We do have staff going through and looking at the Attorney General's office page to ensure that everybody is up to date with their filings. If they're not getting a contract. And we will go back to the mayor and say, look at this one didn't have this is missing this, and this is missing that. No contract goes out until we're sure that they have everything. Just like with CDBG, yes, we do ask them to present to us. When people filled out these applications, they were telling us that they were
nonprofits and they were this and that. So we took it at face value that they were correct, they were nonprofits. But you're right, they were missing some things, or they were late filings, or whatever. I think the intention was that we didn't want to discount people just because they were late filings or something like that. We wanted to benefit of the doubt, okay? But nobody gets a contract until that's done.
Yeah, and that's fine, but I mean, just look at it from my perspective.
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna have any other opportunity to be able to say yes or no. And when somebody asked me about that, I was like, oops, what am I gonna say? I have no defense on my end.
Yeah.
And at least with the CDBGs, before you get here, we got the minutes conversation, the 3-minute presentation. We got a recommendation of a third-party board. Go to the mayor review, recommend us something, send it over here, and then we have all those boxes checked.
Yes.
And then we can definitely say, all paperwork are in order. And everything else. But I mean, just try to go back whenever we have the second round or whatever, change the process around, because we always out here, we would like to have the opportunity to make sure that we say, yes, this is 100% 100% fine as how it was presented to us.
Yeah, I mean, we are making sure that everybody has their filings and everything's in order before they get a contract. And you can't get a check until you have a contract, until you submit invoices to us that you spent the money. It's reimbursable.
Yeah. For the second round, can you go do the interview, the 3-minute presentation, or whatever you guys want to do it, but
I mean, we'll take that
making
into,
sure,
if that's what you want us to do. I mean, yeah.
At least with that, we make sure that all those check boxes are marked.
We could rework the application to
No,
make
I
sure
mean,
we
not
have to
with
submit
this one,
everything
because
up
on
front.
this one, I know you guys are working on it, whatever, I mean, it is what it is. But second round,
Can you
They're gonna come
clarify-
up.
Sorry, Counselor, can you clarify what you mean by the second round?
assuming that the ARPA fund is you guys gonna do another round of these type of things.
Maybe with the home ARP program, yes, there is a home ARP program that and I would like to also clarify something, because I think there's some rumors or information that's being spread. With the veterans services, we have veterans at heart. With the home ARP funding, veterans are eligible, or any veterans organization are eligible. What we need to make sure that, yes, it's true, as a city employee or city employees, we can form part of civic organizations. That's not the issue. But it is, if depending on the amount, what role do you play in the organization? If you're a board member, not a problem, because all of us serve on some of us serve on nonprofit boards. But if you are placing yourself as a CEO or a director or any program director of any organization, it becomes at least a perception of ethics violation. So that's what we're trying to avoid. And the vetting system, Counselor, is still continuing, and we are still providing and fact-checking all the information that has been provided.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Council President.
Welcome. Any other comments? I guess my question is procedural. So we have in front of us a blank slate. We have just a motion to adopt. Now, as we go through those items, are we withdrawing some of these items that are on this list?
We have still questions that we are asking. We will still, since it's an old item, we can also always bring it before you with the correction and names of organizations that have been removed. You have to get a clear list of organizations which were approved and a contract is ready to sign, and those that have been rejected. You also have the ARPA funding in the amount of, I think right now is $3,074,000, because I think $100,000 was expended for the developing of the plan that was submitted to HUD. That comes before you as well for approval, but on a later date. And also we need to provide to you, once it's presented and to the CAFO for review, is the allocation of funds, which we have promised the city council. We were going to say, from the 9 items that we have, where all the funds have been allocated. So in order to present to you a balanced budget.
What is the amount, the total amount of, if this passes this evening, how much money remains in ARPA for this position?
The ARPA funding, every funding has been allocated.
So this is it. This vote tonight, again, once we retake
Yep.
the vote, will be it. And so the order is that, we're going to pass, right now, the motion is to adopt all 50, I got a list of 51. What's the ultimate, what's the final number?
I think that it would be too premature now, because we're still vetting, and for us to come back again and change, it would be best for us for the council to wait until we come before you with all the organizations that have been approved, that have met all the requirements, and those have been rejected, put them on a separate list, so you can basically receive, just like the day we came before you with a presentation. Otherwise, you're going to vote tonight, and then we have to come back again for another vote.
So there's currently a motion before us to approve. Is there a motion to table at this point, based on what Mr. Spanner just said?
Table.
Motion made by the Vice President, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. Discussion, no discussion on the table matter. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. There are 5 members here. It's unanimous. The motion is currently tabled.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, our colleagues can come back. I know they're in the back room. Thank you. I don't see anybody, is there anybody here with any business before the council that's in the audience at this point? If not, is there any reason why we need to keep the folks with translation services here longer? No? Then, thank you. We're all set with the translation services. Have a good night. Appreciate it. Thank you. We're going to go back to the top of Ordinance Committee, so I'm looking to the Vice Chair. Okay. Need that Chair, Vice President. 248?
It's 278-19, ordinance change to ban driver use at handheld service device with a school zone during the hours 7 to 4 p.m. during the school year. It has been sent out with favor recommendation for withdrawal.
The motion on we're going to go back to 248 in a second. Is that 278, Madam Chair?
78.
Motion made to withdraw. Is there a second? Second, Mr. Del Rosario. Discussion. Seeing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
231-20, stop sign, no bound. You got, what do you mean 248? We are, oh. Age doesn't forgive. 240. 48-19. City Hall parking lot user policies, Councilor Levy has been sent out with favorable recommendation for withdrawal.
Second.
Motion made, seconded by Councilor Del Rosario. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
231-20, stop sign, no bound, traffic at the intersection of South Union Street in South Baldwin near 440 South Baldwin, and has been sent out with favorable recommendation for withdrawal.
Second.
Motion made, seconded by Councilor Levy. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
91-21, promote and endorse a traffic study improving the 5 corner. It also has been sent out with favorable recommendation for withdrawal.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
About this, I'm not gonna give you the update now.
You're not, but I'm going to let folks know that I'm going to be getting an update on this. I'm not just dropping it, that there's more information coming. So thank you so much. Thank you, Madam State Representative and Vice President, for your work on this issue. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
2023, determination regarding voting by, no, that's. Right? 13123, two 20-minute parking space at 71 East Haver Street. It has been said that our favor recommendation to order a public hearing.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Seconded by Counselor Levy. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
14323, handicap parking at 8 Haight Street. The year it has been sent out with the favor recommendation to order public hearing.
Second.
Motion been made and properly seconded by Counselor Levy. Discussion. Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
No parking area at Wilmont Street. It has been sent out with favor recommendation for withdrawal, and I make that a full motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Counselor Russell. Discussion. Seeing none. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
16523, 20-minute parking, 262 Hampshire Street, Pilon Market, 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. It has been sent out with favor recommendation to order a public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Counselor Levy. Discussion. Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
24323, there is a wait out event, Campanon Common, August 25th. It has been sent out with the favor recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Counselor Russell. Discussion. Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No. The ayes have it.
246, right? Yes. 24623, approval of Hamker and Pedal license, Piragua Santiago and Fernando Santiago, has been sent out with favor recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
Motion been made and seconded by Counselor Del Rosario. Discussion. Was it Rodriguez?
Yeah.
You guys sound alike.
The
Counselor
boys
Rodriguez.
sound-
All, no discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
24923, handicap bar sign removal, 310 Salem Street. Councilor Stephanie Infante was the one request the order, has been sent out for a public hearing.
Motion been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Infante. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
25023, expansion of Juan Pablo Duarte Boulevard on Broadway from Canal Street to Kirk Street. Desfile Dominicano, and Mayor Brian De Peña and Councilor Gregor De Rosario. It has been sent out with favor recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
Motion made and seconded by Counselor Rodriguez. Discussion. Just one quick question. So in the committee, this discussion was regarding the actual mail. So if mail was going to somebody in that particular area, it would be still Broadway, but for ceremonial purposes, there's going to be a ceremonial sign. Is that the understanding of what this is?
Yes.
This is not actually changing the actual
Yes.
addresses.
It's no name, it's no changing on.
It's ceremonial, okay.
It's still gonna be Broadway.
Okay, any further discussion on this matter? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Having new signs and everything on that location, right? That was brought up on the conversation.
Yes.
All right.
He's one of the author, ask of the question. Still here. 254. 254, you say it in the ordinance committee that we don't need to send and do any action for this.
I never sent it down to the ordinance committee. So the great news here is that we had a couple of volunteers to help us with the city council office. Thank you, Mr. Russell. Thank you, Councilor Levy, I believe are the two. So thank you so much for being a part of that, and we'll get to work pronto on that, so thank you. And we'll leave that probably under, we'll leave it on there somewhere. Probably under, let's put it under table matters. I'm looking for a motion to table 25423. Is there a motion? Motion made. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Rodriguez. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. It's tabled. Speaking of table matters, are any table matters that need to be brought up?
Council President.
All right. 20123 under old business. Is there anybody wishing to bring that up for any reason? Councilor Levy, go ahead.
20123 is a 250-minute parkings and its removal on 486 Howard Street. It's been submitted by Councilor Ana Levy and Francisco Fria. And I do not understand here, that's order a public hearing for the, okay. For removal. And I make as a formal motion.
Okay, clerk, can you just help us all understand what is, why is this on old business? Have we already ordered a public hearing? What's the background of this?
So we did not order a public hearing. We withdrew the document because a woman showed up that was the new owner of 486 Howard Street, was asking us to leave the signs. Officer Cano reached out to us in between and was like, there's not a store there. The 15-minute parking was to accommodate a store. So if the store is not there and functioning, then there should not be 15-minute parking spots. The store moved. The new property owners want to keep the signs, which he is discouraging them from doing since there's not a store there, necessitating the need for the signs. So in order to remove an ordinance, we need a public hearing. Yeah. And we didn't do that because we had a woman asking us to leave the signs, which we did, but then it was brought to our attention that while she was implying that there was still a store there, there is not. And so at the public hearing, if she wants to come in, but in the meantime, if we want to remove the signs, we have to remove the ordinance. So at this time, they're recommending have the public hearing.
Quick question on the removal. I think through you, Council President. Can you check with the city attorney to see if you can do all of the removal on one public hearing?
Yeah, I understand the question, yeah. We can do, to save money, like one
Yeah.
publication.
One publication, all of the removal, boom, boom, boom,
Removal
boom,
of
boom.
these signs, 1, 2, 3, yeah.
So there's public hearing. So I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're doing a public hearing. Why don't we do new business first? Can we do that? Document 266-23, handicap parking, 164 Union Street, Fernando Munoz and Council Vice President Reyes, ordinance. 267-23, authorization of $143,000 from Mass DOT IRAP grant going to the budget finance. 268-23, authorization to expend funds, $10,000. Partners in Child Development Grant is going to the budget finance. 269-23, authorization to expend funds up to $500,000. Eversource street repair reimbursement, budget finance. 270-23, one-way Short Street from Chestnut Street to Oak Street, put on by Vice President Reyes, is going to the Ordinance Committee. 271-23, no parking sign Short Street from Chestnut Street to Oak Street. Council Vice President Reyes is going to the Ordinance Committee. 272-23, resident parking only, Short Street, Heritage Common Apartments, put on by the Vice President, is going to the Ordinance Committee. 273-23, parking, resident parking only, Oak Street, put on by State Representative Reyes, is going to the Ordinance Committee. 274-23, no parking between driveways, Bennington Street. Vice President Estela Reyes is going to the Ordinance Committee. 275-23, proposal for COVID ARPA payment to Lawrence residents, $100 per person, put on by Councilor Russell. That's going to the Budget Finance Committee. 270. Handicap parking, 189 Garden Street, is going to the committee. 277-23, handicap parking, 60 Chester Street, is going to the Ordinance Committee. 278-23, resolution in support of teachers and LPS employees, and declare August 28, 2023, Lawrence Public School Day, is going to the Ordinance Committee. 279-23, Disability Expo Resource Fair, can't give comments, only over 4 p.m. August 12th, going to the Ordinance Committee. 280-23, Health Panther Enrollment, can't give 6 p.m. August 26th, going to the Ordinance Committee. 281-23, Festival of Hula. Uh, 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. on August 13th. That is going to the Ordinance Committee. 282-23 hawkers and peddlers license removal is going to the ordinance committee. Two- 283-23 authorization to expend grant funds, $58,832 for the FY24 municipal road safety MRS grant is going to the budget and finance. 284-23 authorization to expend grant funds, $53,737 for FY19. Is that a typo or is that real?
That's real.
FY19 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice JAG grant. That's going to the budget and finance. Now, committee assignments, 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Personnel.
25.
Same time, same date, 6:30, Tuesday, personnel, budget and finance. Monday at 7, housing committee. So there we go. All right. I'm now looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion made by the vice president, seconded by Councilor Selena Reyes. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.